And welcome back. Since its inception in 1983, McDonald's Gospelfest remains the nation's foremost gospel celebration, bringing inspiration, encouragement, and hope to millions of Americans. Now, the festival creates a joyous atmosphere for talented singers and choirs and musicians to unite, as well as celebrate the beauty of gospel music. And joining me now, the Emmy Award-winning producer and director of McDonald's Gospelfest, A. Curtis Farrow, and my brother, good to have you.
How are you? So good to be here.
Man, glad to have you here sharing.
Good to be here in the Bronx. The Bronx.
He's in the Bronx, ladies and gentlemen. And McDonald's Gospelfest is coming to the Bronx.
It's McDonald's Gospelfest is coming to the Bronx.
Yes.
For years and years, people have been begging me, please, Mr. Farrow. Well, this is the year.
And
April the 20th, right at the Lehman Center for the Performing Arts, right here on the Lehman College campus. We're going to be here, and we are excited.
We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, but
Yeah.
let me first talk about this because we talk about McDonald's Gospelfest.
Yes.
Before we talk about Gospelfest, we have to talk
Right.
about McDonald's, right? Because this is a
Correct.
partnership.
Correct.
And you know, this is a social justice show. We want to
Right.
talk a little bit about this here.
Yeah.
You know, McDonald's
Yes.
and African American owner operators are really the engine to what made this work.
Yes. It was a group of black McDonald owner operators who got together, and they were looking at the corporation and just talking about social justice. The corporation was sponsoring the Super Bowl. They were sponsoring, the Super Bowl and the Olympics. And a group of black owners said, "Hey, wait a minute. That's great, but we want to do something for our community. We want to do something for the communities. We want to serve the communities who serve us."
Right.
And so, they had to fight. They had to fight for that. And so then, everyone came around and said, "Okay, great." And then they put the first one up, and it was so successful in the community that from a branding standpoint, even McDonald's Corporation was like, wow, this is a win. So just to go to show you, social justice does work.
Right.
You know what I mean? It does
Right.
work. We have to fight sometimes, but it does work. And so from that point forward, the McDonald's Corporation, the McDonald owner-operators, the New York Tri-State McDonald owner-operators, all folks are 100% behind the program. And that's why we're still here 43 years later.
But when you look at the history, though, honestly, a lot of people don't know the story, right?
Yeah.
Because there was a time, you talk about doing it, but there was a time when people didn't want you to do it. You
That's
almost
correct.
shut down. Talk to us about that.
That's correct. There's a time where some people don't understand. You always have new people coming in, and new people are like, why do we do this? Why do we do this program? And so then we had like 300 pastors. And I'll never forget Lee Dunham, who's a black McDonald owner-operator. We had 300 pastors, and they were going to go to the corporation and say, "Oh, you're going to do this. This program is ours. You serve us every day, but we, buy
Serve
your
you,
food
right.
every day." And so then Lee went into the corporation, and they was like, they got 300 pastors coming down to the offices, and they were like, "Oh, no, we don't want to do that." And so then it turned. And then people all understand. But you know what it is really? Even more so than the pastors, it really is about every time there's a new set of new people, it's about bringing them to the community so they can see it in action.
Right.
And when they see it in action, when they see families come together, when they see all the groups of people coming together on one accord, there's no shootings, there's no fighting, it's just joy. It's like you said, it's our time to come together and to just praise God and be joyful. And even those folks who just like gospel as a art form, it's just a joyful time. And now they're on board.
Yeah.
So, it's fight. I had to fight to keep it, but it's right on now.
Before we talk about the concert, I want to get to talking about McDonald's owner-operators, right?
Yes,
Because
they're
there's
great.
also something else that's a very important component. We're seeing young African Americans.
Yes.
And African Americans really own McDonald's.
They do.
And they're doing well.
They're doing
very
phenomenal.
well.
They're doing
financially.
phenomenal.
Now, in the community, a lot of people throw shade like, "Oh, you work at McDonald's."
Right.
But the reality is,
They
to be an owner and an operator,
You gotta work.
You got to work.
You gotta work.
And you're making a bag.
That's correct. You can't just have a bunch of money and say you want to own McDonald's. It doesn't work that way. You have to go and you have to train. You have to go to Hamburger University. You have to train. You have to go in the stores. Those owner-operators, when you see those owner-operators, they're not just walking around like they have money and they just do money around. It don't work like that. They have to work, I believe it's a full year in somebody else's McDonald's restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah, those McDonald's owner-operators, they have to know how to do every single thing that goes on in that restaurant. And we have a group now of black McDonald's owner-operators, they're young and they're doing a great job and they're working hard. It's hard work.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard work. It's not easy. They ain't just sitting back. People think that they just roll up and you know, collect the dough. It don't work like that.
And I met a young man who's in Auburn, New York.
Yeah.
In his grand opening, right? And he told
Herb.
Right, Herb.
Yes.
And Herb told a story about how it was not an easy road for him.
Yes.
But not only does he have one in Auburn, now he has one in Ithaca,
Yeah.
and he's doing well.
He's doing well. Yes, he's doing well. And his mom, Nellie, they're so good. They're a great family. He's second generation. And that's the other thing that we you know, I keep saying to everybody, what I love is watching how to really leave a legacy. You know, we've gotten in the business that we don't leave a legacy right now. It's
Right.
all about us and we stay there forever.
Right.
And then something happens to us, we die off, and then guess what? It goes away. But I have to say, watching the McDonald's owner-operators build a legacy, bringing in their kids so that their kids will bring in their kids, and it becomes a legacy, you know, in the community, a legacy of doing work, a legacy of building their own personal brands. So his parents are McDonald's owner-operators now. He's a McDonald's owner-operator. He's got 2 daughters. I'm sure one of them will be a McDonald's owner-operator. And I see that more and more and more, even with Lee Dunham. His Brian Hairston, his son, is now the president of the New York Tri-State owner-operator, the entire body, not just the black owner-operators, the entire body.
Right.
You know what? And so I see that through all of the McDonald's system. That's something that we could learn from.
Right.
They do a great job of making sure that you are not just servicing the community, but you're building a legacy for your family.
Which is something we don't always see in our community.
That's correct.
And McDonald's is really a great pathway to do it. Now let's talk about this concert now. It's coming up.
Lehman Center for the Performing Arts,
Right.
April the 20th. It is going to be so phenomenal. Our theme is revival. And Bronx, you gotta come. We're bringing the First Lady of Gospel Music, Shirley Caesar. Shirley Caesar, tell everybody. You know, I told somebody the other day, I said, don't just bring your mom because your mom wants to come.
Right.
Don't just bring your aunt wants to come. Make sure you bring the kids. This lady, she's the First Lady of Gospel Music. Trust me, if that child can be touched, she's gonna touch that child.
Right.
So make sure you bring everybody. And then we have Dottie Peoples. And oh my God, you never see Shirley Caesar and Dottie Peoples on the same show. You just don't.
Right.
They are that is going to be like, I said to everybody, I said, that's gospel dynamite. Shirley Caesar and Dottie Peoples, that is gospel music dynamite. You can make sure we're going to have a good time that night. And then brought up Byron Cage. Oh my God. Byron Cage, the blessing of the Lord is here.
Right.
It's going to be a phenomenal night and a couple surprises. But that's April the 20th, Saturday, April the 20th, Lehman Center for the Performing Arts right here on the campus of Lehman College. Go to lehmancenter.org, or for tickets, lehmancenter.org, or go to the Lehman Center for the Performing Arts website and you'll get all the information. And there's beautiful flyers like this all over the Bronx.
Yes.
And there's even a special for groups of more than 20, you get 20% off. So
Okay.
make sure you go to the Lehman Center for the Performing Arts, their website, or go to lehmancenter.org.
Amazing, amazing. So the night starts around 8 p.m.?
8 p.m. the night starts, and we'll start off with, of course, prayer.
Right.
And then we'll start off with our competition. We'll only have 2 categories that night, which will be the soloist category, which is one of the favorites. And then I believe that night is also the rapping category, which, as you know, I got in a lot of trouble when I brought rapping as a category back in 20.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so we're excited about that. It's going to be a phenomenal night.
What has been the key to success? Because when we talk about longevity, we don't always see longevity. You talk about it right in our community, but you've been able to take something and do it for 43 years. You've
Right.
you've won an Emmy Award, you know, and gone through this. Talk to us about what has been the key there.
For the key for me is God. I don't take it for granted. You know what I'm saying? I take nothing for granted. I believe that God placed me here, and I say to my team, we are about activation. That every year we don't sit on our laurels. You know, I have 19 Emmy nominations. I have 3 Emmy Awards, and that's not including all the other stuff. That, to me, that means nothing. That's that year, great, wow.
Right.
But we come to the next year, that means nothing. It's you starting all over again. You got to get out and you got to get in the streets, you got to activate, and you'll see me, you know me, I'm on the road.
Right.
I'm activating. Folks don't know, I was just telling you, I do so many churches and go visit so many churches to pump up, the community, and it is work. But more than anything, I would say the key is activation. Don't sit on your laurels. Get up. I was getting ready to say, get your butt up.
Yes.
Get your butt up.
You said it right.
Activate. Activate. That's the word of the day. The word of the day is activate.
Just coming off of Easter Sunday,
Yes.
I know that you've had some time in churches.
Yes.
Talk to us about that grind and what it's been like for you just going out there and
Oh my God.
visiting
So I
churches.
did 9 churches Easter. And oh my God, it is just incredible. I say to everybody, I'm exhausted when I finish.
Right.
Because, with each church, and these pastors allow me to get in the pulpit. So they allow me to get up in the pulpit and to pump, pump the show, but to also, I get to share a little mini 1-minute message, of the power of prayer, or I always tell them that God has smiled on us. That's my favorite.
Right.
And so, it's just so exciting. But I will tell you that I can still see we're still coming. We're not completely out of COVID yet, because all of the churches are not packed with people. There are a lot of people who are still online. Online. But I will say that the activation for me and just being there, the energy that I get back from the people, it knows that I know that we're doing the right thing. But at the end of the day, I'm a little exhausted. And Easter, this is the time of the year. If you're a part of gospel music, this is what it's all about.
Right.
That, gospel music is the good news. So there's nothing like going to the church, right, to celebrate the good news.
One of the things I always talk about when it comes to social justice is you cannot extract church from
You can't
social
separate
justice,
it.
right?
You cannot
When you think
separate
about most of the major things that we've had happen, whether it was
Correct.
voting rights,
Correct.
came through the church.
Correct.
The March on Washington
Correct.
came through the church.
And look, the
Million Man
March on Washington, the I Have a Dream speech, you know who gets more credit for that I Have a Dream speech than anybody? Mahalia Jackson.
Right.
Mahalia standing there while King is speaking saying, tell him about the dream, Martin.
Right.
Tell him about the dream, Martin.
Right.
Tell him about the dream, Martin.
Right.
Gospel music is the cradle, it's the base of social justice. And even to this day, it still is the base of justice. I know everyone thinks, you can just only galvanize crowds and galvanize folks to come and participate online. Online is phenomenal, but what I have found is it depends on who you're trying to activate. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to activate the total of the community, you gotta have the church.
Right.
It's the base. You can't get rid of that. So you can activate online, but who's coming?
Right. And I got to ask you this question while I have you here, because you do a great job of intersection, right? When we
Right.
talk about this, you've intersected the secular,
Right.
and then you've also intersected the church community and allowed those two to come together for a greater purpose.
Yes.
Something that needs to happen in communities.
Yes.
How do you make that happen?
Wow. Prayer.
Right, right.
No, but I'm serious. It's
Right.
prayer. It's prayer, but it's also the ability to know that everybody good ain't necessarily just only in the church. I tell people all the time, I said, of all of the people that I've known in the world, I know that Aretha Franklin, she carried her Bible everywhere she went. And when you went to see her in concert, even if she sang her secular songs, somewhere in the middle of that performance, she was taking you to church.
Right.
So she would always say, I'm going to touch somebody. God is allowing me to use this as a way to get deeper. Right. And she would always say deeper, that you can get deeper to somebody by opening their ears and their eyes and their heart first than you can by just going and preaching and stomping on them. And the same thing with Whitney. I tell people all the time, I said, the one thing about Whitney Houston knew that Bible.
Right.
And Whitney Houston, the same thing, you go to a Whitney Houston concert, she's got all those big songs, right? All of those big songs. But guess where? Somewhere in the middle there, you were going to go to church. So they were secular, but the truth is they got their learnings in the church. Their foundation was the church. And that's why I tell people, I said, yeah, you can say, that Whitney had the voice. Come on. You can't, you hear that national anthem, and I say to everybody, everybody else hears that national anthem, and like, oh my God. And we hear the national anthem, we're like, well, she took them to church.
Right.
You know what I'm
right,
saying?
Exactly.
So they're church girls. So you can't separate the secular from the spiritual. You can't, because at the end of the day, I believe that God is all.
I got to do this because
Okay,
you know
I'm
while
sorry.
I got you. No. We on point.
You know me. I'm
No, you'll understand when I say. You'll understand when I say this.
Okay.
You know, in a few minutes. If you ever watched the Aretha Franklin funeral, right? Everybody talks about how long it was. It was about 4 hours long, right?
More.
More than 4 hours, right? But this man right here was the one who actually coordinated it and put the Aretha Franklin funeral together.
Right.
Talk to me about
and the Whitney Houston.
I was getting ready to get there, man.
Okay,
but
sorry.
You stole my thunder.
Sorry.
I was getting there.
Sorry.
And Whitney Houston, right?
Right.
But let's first talk about, while I got you
Aretha.
here, Aretha Franklin, because that is something that will go down in history.
It will go down in history. And you know what I tell people? And it's funny because I was with a group of pastors. And they're like, man, that was a... I said, excuse me, stop. When the Queen of England died, y'all celebrated her for 3 weeks.
Exactly.
And you had to celebrate the Queen of Soul for 1 day. Once I said that, I haven't heard another thing. As a matter of fact, I hear people now repeat what I just said. If we can celebrate the Queen of England for 3 weeks, we can celebrate the Queen of Soul for 1 day. And I said, and not only that, but we're talking about God's child. Do you know that I turned away at least 100 or more than 136, superstars who also wanted to participate. We could have been there for a whole week. That's how many people wanted to come and participate. And when you look at who was there, look, everybody from Bill Clinton, you know what I'm saying, to Minister Farrakhan. Yeah, and
Jesse J-
people don't even know. They didn't have Minister Farrakhan on the podium. He wasn't supposed to speak.
Right.
But they had Minister Farrakhan out in the audience. And I was the one who said, no, wait a minute. We have to be right with all of us. We're coming together. I know Aretha, they were friends.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, no. So that's why you saw Minister Farrakhan. I had them put that chair up there. It's like, even if you don't say nothing, sitting here says a lot, because you see all of the community. You see Al there. You saw the entire community, the entire body of Aretha's life. You saw all of them up there.
Wow. So now take me to Whitney Houston for a minute.
Oh, my God.
That was a funeral that was,
Whew.
I think when we look back at that was
Yeah.
history too, because at the same time, that's the first time we ever really saw a full funeral like that.
Yes.
At
On
quote unquote
TV.
black church.
Yes, on
On
TV.
CNN.
Yes. And here's the thing. Originally, Cissy Houston was like, we're not going to show anything, no video, no. And I said, and she considers me her big brother.
Right.
Even though she's much older than me, she considered me her big brother. And I'm very close. And when Whitney passed away, she turned to me, it was just me and her in the car, and she said, baby, this is yours. You got to take this over, you got to do it. And so from that moment, I took over. And that's why she and I was in the car, and we heard it was going to be at the Prudential Center, and we looked at each other, and she went, it is not going to be at the Prudential Center. She is coming back home. It's going to be at the church. I don't care how small the church is. It is going to be a church funeral.
Right.
She is coming home, and it's going to be at the church. She was determined. And that's why a lot of times people introduce her now as the lady who brought the world back to church, because she was determined that it was going to be a black church funeral. And that's exactly what people got. And people celebrated that funeral. I mean, people were so emotional, from all over the world. People were texting me and crying, and people were like, oh my God, that was so wonderful. But people don't understand, that's black church every Sunday.
Every Sunday
That's black church.
You'll see it there.
Right. And so she was determined. Cissy Houston, Whitney's mom, was determined that was a church girl. This is where she got her foundation. This is where her mom taught her. This is where her learning come from. And she is coming back home, and that's the way she didn't care how small it was. She was like, that's where it's going to be.
It was one of the most awesome experiences I think we in the world got an opportunity to see.
Right, to see.
And then later on to have the opportunity to see Aretha Franklin's.
Right. In the church.
In the church.
Not in the hall.
Will go down in history.
Yeah.
And people don't know, but you're the man who coordinated and put it all together. So congratulations.
Thank you.
For that. Now we got to get back to, because we got
April,
1 minute.
April the 20th,
Yes.
Lehman Center for the Arts, McDonald's Gospelfest, Shirley Caesar, Dottie Peoples, Byron Cage, and many, many, many more. Tickets are lehmancenter.org, or go to the Lehman Center for the Performing Arts website right here on the campus of Lehman College, and you will be So happy. It's going to be a great celebration. I'm excited. I guess you can see I can't wait.
I'm excited too. And you'll see me there, and I'll be there too, and looking forward to a great experience.
Yes, yes, you will be there.
Yes.
This is my brother. Y'all don't know. This really is my brother.
And you really are a brother to me too. And
Yeah,
I really
love you,
appreciate
man.
No, listen,
I love you, man.
I enjoy coming.
You come through. You come through. And I have to tell you, when we did that prayer, I have that touched so many people that people are begging for it. So we got to do that again.
No problem. You call me, I got you.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Hey, Curtis Farrow,
All
my
right.
brother.
Love you, man.
Glad to have
Thank you.
All right, listen, take a quick break. Be back with more right after this.